I guess the short notes, I think I did a good job maintaining the things I liked about Horizon Zero Dawn, in the sense that the upgrades, the ability to work together, the ability to try to set traps and have some degree of stealth, but I think it did a good job of picking up a level past that. In Forbidden West, they really leaned into the stealth aspects a whole lot more in terms of the ways that you spend a good portion of your game setting up traps and preparing and engaging and taking out lower threats before eventually the monsters realize something is happening and they have to deal with you.
Yeah, it made you a lot more invested even in each other's turns and roles, that I felt we were paying attention to each other the entire time.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, I think in short, it invested me in wanting to play more, to be able to do what we did, but to be able to do it with all the character building, with all the developing how things go, seeing the story elements, seeing how the campaign progresses. I think for the most part, as we sat down to play, there was a decent amount of trying to figure out where to give everyone grace to move, to figure things out, and to play off each other. I mean, again, we were all coming from different stances. There's a lot of grace as we all tried to figure out how to navigate and how to talk together and how to give each other room to discover what their character does.
I feel like there are definitely a lot of games where, you know, even during your turn, you'll be like, I can pull you here because you should be there. And even it's still working together and not really like completely running the board, but trying to help people. And with this, I felt instead you were still completely paying attention to people's turns, but there wasn't as much manipulating the other players. That everyone pretty much ran their own character with their own agency. That I really liked that too.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the command aspect does feed into that as well. I never felt uninvolved in the game, regardless of whose turn it was. But then like the stealth was such a bigger impact, and I don't think I realized that the stealth was also being completely retooled. And it really, the way they divided up the two halves of the game, where you kind of have time and you have a timer ticking down, and your actions, and the way you take your actions, the way you engage with the monsters, that's all going to determine how much time you have. But like that disparity of the two phases, like I think that was the thing that really stuck out to me as something that was a very good shift and change from the original. I think both Zero Dawn and Forbidden West did a great job of capturing the general sense of adventure of various monsters and trying to figure out how to engage with monsters too, or trying to figure out how to, like, you know, prep for them, but then also at some point you have to lash out, you have to try to start pulling them towards a trap. And so I think the core combat cycle of how the exploration in Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West feels, I think that is very much encapsulated in this.
I really enjoyed the tracks on the map and how they were roaming around. Like I enjoyed the strategy aspect of that you can anticipate where they'll be until the point happens that they're attacking you.
We used a lot of traps.
Yeah.
It's interesting is I don't think we ever triggered the preset traps on the board.
Right, and there was one point where it was lined up very, very well, but because they're on the edges of the board, it's kind of hard for you to maneuver that way.
Yeah. But overall, the traps were like, all of our characters were using traps the whole way through. In fact, even the final climactic moment was literally me planting a trap and then hoping that the beast's ire would be drawn towards me, and it was. It killed me, so not as well implemented as I'd hoped, but like traps were definitely a big part of it, which is another interesting.
I don't know why you drew it to you. I was at full health.
You were dead.
Oh.
That's why.
That is what happened.
You were dead.
Yep.
You had to respawn. You were going to respawn at the beginning of your turn.
No, we don't have to. What's the next question?
Let's move on. Next question, please. We tried to, when we approached the game, we tried to tackle it as stealth-based as possible. We have all these small little monsters dancing around the board, and we're trying to figure out how to take them out. Like
we did start taking out all the little guys first, as you would in this type of a thing. And I think, I guess we did do that pretty
My first objective was to
I didn't worry about stealth at all.
Yeah, we know. I tried to run quickly towards the tall grass. I tried to then take down the cave so that as the monsters would otherwise respawn, that wouldn't be as much of a threat. And we did a good job of dealing with most of them and getting some degree of prep work in. We kind of ignored the big guy until we actually went to full combat, but there's definitely a degree of stealth management throughout it as we try to utilize as much as we could until timer counted down and we had to go. And it's a lot of navigation around where to move your characters, and also the unpredictability of how much the monsters actually move as they're wandering. But it's a lot of planning, and also, just like in real life, not everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see the new machines and the scenarios and, you know, different ways that you'll be fighting things. But for me, I'm also just really excited to see those miniatures.
Yeah. And
some
that's one
huge machines that you have to fight off.
I think if I were picking two words to describe Horizon Forbidden West, it would be incorporated feedback. I think to me, the way I'm approaching this really is somebody who played and enjoyed a lot of elements of Horizon Zero Dawn. It really feels that, at least from what I've seen, I haven't seen everything yet, but it feels like they took the system, said, let's take into account, and let's rebuild it around what we did well and around what we can do better. And that's really the whole way I look at the game right now.
I would say, for me, if I described it in 2 words, I would say engaging co-op. It's definitely very engaging co-op. That co-op is a genre that I love, and for it to really tie in the players so well while they still have their individual turns and people aren't really trying to, have them do different things that they want. I definitely enjoyed the co-op aspect.
That works.